The autumn leaves crunched beneath Tom's sneakers as he took his usual shortcut through the woods behind his house. At 15, he'd walked this path 1,000 times, but today something was different. A strange metallic scent hung in the air, and an eerie purple glow emanated from beyond the oak trees ahead. Tom's curiosity pulled him forward. What he found made his heart skip a beat. Tangled in a mess of thorny vines and sparking electrical wire, probably from the old power lines, was a creature no larger than a house cat. Its scales shimmered between crimson and gold, and small wisps of smoke curled from its nostrils. Translucent wings, torn and bleeding a luminescent blue liquid, twitched weakly. The creature's large, intelligent eyes met Tom's, and in that moment, he knew 3 things with absolute certainty. This was not from Earth. It was in terrible pain, and it was just a baby. Hey, it's okay," Tom whispered, dropping to his knees. The creature whimpered, a sound like wind chimes in a storm, and tried to pull away, but the wires had it trapped. Tom could see the metal cutting into its delicate scales. Most people would have run. Most people would have called the authorities or their parents, or at least taken a video for social media. But Tom had always been the kid who brought home injured birds and fed stray cats. He saw a living thing in pain, and nothing else mattered. Working carefully, ignoring the strange tingling sensation when his fingers touched the creature's scales, Tom began unwinding the wire. The thorns scratched his hands bloody, but he didn't stop. The creature watched him with those enormous eyes, and gradually its trembling subsided. "Almost there, little guy," Tom murmured. "Or girl? I have no idea, honestly." When the last wire came free, the creature collapsed into Tom's arms. It was surprisingly warm, almost hot to the touch, and it weighed barely anything despite its solid appearance. Tom carefully examined its wings. The tears weren't as bad as he'd feared, but they needed attention. Tom made a decision. He pulled off his jacket, wrapped the creature gently inside, and headed home. His parents were at work, they always were, which meant he had the house to himself. He'd figure out the rest later. In his bedroom, Tom created a nest of blankets in his closet and carefully placed the creature inside. It looked up at him with what he could only describe as gratitude, then curled into a ball and closed its eyes. The purple glow that surrounded it dimmed to a soft shimmer. "You need a name," Tom said softly. "You breathe smoke, your scales are like fire. How about flame?" The creature's eyes opened briefly, and if Tom didn't know better, he'd swear it smiled. Then it fell into a deep sleep, its tiny chest rising and falling with surprising rhythm. Tom spent the evening researching. Not that Google had much information on alien dragons, and raiding the kitchen for anything that might work as food. He tried raw meat, fruits, vegetables, even cold pizza. Flame woke up around midnight, sniffed each offering with delicate curiosity, and finally settled on apples. The baby dragon ate 3 apples, core and all, then nuzzled against Tom's hand before going back to sleep. Over the next day, Flame's wounds began healing at an impossible rate. The blue blood stopped flowing, the tears in the wings started knitting together, and the creature's glow grew steadily brighter. Tom stayed home from school claiming he was sick and spent the day with his unexpected guest. They developed a routine: apples for breakfast, gentle wing exercises, and what Tom could only describe as conversations, though no words were spoken. Flame would make different sounds, chimes, chirps, small roars, and Tom found himself understanding the emotions behind them. Fear was fading, trust was growing, and there was something else, something Flame seemed anxious about. "Do you have a family?" Tom asked that evening, as Flame perched on his desk watching him with those knowing eyes. "Are they looking for you?" Flame's response was a mournful chime that made Tom's chest ache. "Don't worry," Tom said firmly. "We'll figure it out together." He had no idea how right he was. Tom woke the next morning to Flame's excited chirping. The little dragon was at the window, wings now almost fully healed, flapping with agitation. Tom rushed over and looked out at his backyard. His jaw dropped. The entire backyard was filled with dragons. Not baby dragons like Flame, but massive ones. Some were easily the size of his house, with wingspans that cast shadows over the entire property. They came in every color imaginable: emerald green, sapphire blue, silver, gold, deep purple, and crimson like flame. They sat in perfect silence, their enormous eyes all focused on Tom's bedroom window. Oh no," Tom breathed. "Flame, are those—" But Flame was already scrambling toward the window, making urgent sounds. Tom opened it, and the little dragon shot out, flying with newly healed wings toward the assembled dragons. Tom watched in terror and wonder as Flame approached the largest dragon, a magnificent creature of deep gold and red, with scales that seemed to hold the sunset itself. The large dragon lowered its massive head, and Flame landed on its snout, chirping excitedly. Then, in perfect unison, every dragon turned their gaze to Tom. The golden dragon made a sound, deep, resonant, like mountains singing. And somehow, impossibly, Tom understood. It wasn't words, but meaning flowed directly into his mind. You saved our young when you had no reason to. You gave care when you could have taken. You showed kindness to something strange and frightening. This is not common among species who reach for the stars. The young one has named you friend, Tom, and we honor this bond. Tom's legs felt weak. He gripped the windowsill for support. I just couldn't leave Flame hurt. Exactly, the dragon responded. We have watched humanity for some time, waiting to see what you would become. We have seen your wars, your cruelty, your destruction. But we have also seen this: kindness without reason, courage without reward. You, Tom, have answered our oldest question about your species. The dragon's eyes seemed to glow brighter. We are the eternal flight, guardians of the young races. We come now not as observers, but as friends. Humanity has earned this through your actions, through your choice to care for the lost and frightened. Flame flew back to Tom's windowsill, settling on his shoulder and nuzzling his cheek. The small dragon's warmth spread through him, and Tom felt tears in his eyes. I don't understand, Tom whispered. I'm just me. And that, the golden dragon said, is exactly enough. As the morning sun rose higher, casting light on the impossible scene in his backyard, Tom realized that everything had changed. Not just for him, but for everyone. Because one boy had chosen compassion over fear, and in doing so had opened the door to the stars. Flame chirped happily on his shoulder, and Tom smiled. Whatever came next, they would face it together.